It's just wrestling. It means nothing, says Vince Russo. Well, hate really is a hell of a motivator here, because I fucking hate Vince Russo. I'm Charles Rentham with my review of Dark Side of the Ring, the Montreal Screwjob. I'm going to go on the record right now and say that I hope Vince Russo's wife leaves him, his kids abandon him, and he ends up alone and afraid knowing nobody ever loved or respected him. It's what the piece of shit deserves for what he did to wrestling and the piece of shit that he is in life itself. So, with that out of the way, I know some people still feel that the Screwjob is a work. You can feel that way if you want. I don't agree, but you're entitled to your opinion. I'm going back and watching every single one of the Dark Side of the Ring episode 1 shows just to see if they still anger me and inspire me as much as they did before. And yeah, this one's pretty goddamn angry. Now, really only one piece of information is revealed that we didn't know before. Everything else is kind of a retread. A lot of people, if they've seen documentaries, know about the Montreal Screwjob, Wrestling with Shadows, various Brett documentaries and stuff like that. It's been told time and time and time again. We hear from various people. We obviously don't hear from Triple H and Shawn because they're employed by WWE. But Shawn, has at least finally come clean about it after he found God. Triple H, though, being the big piece of shit that he is, not the savior of WWE, can only imagine how he would have fucking spun it here. So, we have a lot of Jim Cornette, Bruce Pritchard, and Vince Russo on this episode. Scott Hall also chimes in. Earl Hebner, it was nice to hear from him since he was a referee on that infamous night. Jim Cornette says Brett took the business seriously. I think he took himself a little too seriously at times. And I can agree with that. Now, Bret Hart is my favorite wrestler of all time. I will always defend Bret, even if obviously nobody's perfect and nobody makes the best decisions 100% of the time. But yeah, this shirt, the fact that Bret is my favorite wrestler of all time, of course I'm going to take his side on this. Now, I would have understood why Vince did this if he felt that Bret would have gone to WCW with the championship. Here's the problem. He wouldn't have fucking done that. Now, he probably thought, Medusa did it with the women's championship. Well, here's the thing. He, disbanded the women's division. Medusa needed money. The championship meant nothing. And she fucking dropped it in the bin because she needed a job. Bret had way more respect for wrestling. I'm not saying Medusa didn't. Medusa was basically forced against her will. Bret was not going to take the championship and fucking do that shit. And it was fucking ridiculous that Vince McMahon thought that. And that he wanted to make a pilled up moron, whatever the fuck the term is, his champion once again when Shawn was not in any condition to be the champion. My fucking God. Yeah, he probably shouldn't have made that deal with Bret and just let him go to WCW, but fucking hell. Anyway, Cornette also says, say what you say about wrestling. That was real. He really screwed that guy. Bret talked about, how his stories never changed over the years, and that's true. He stuck to his guns. If it was a work, he would have slipped up. Bruce Pritchard talks about, being there as it happened. Heart Dungeon history with Bret. How Stu could stretch guys even that were like way younger than him because he knew all those holds and everything. Everybody talking, let me show you a hold, trying to do a Stu impression. Cornette talks about the family. Everybody got into wrestling. The daughters married people that were in wrestling. Stu being double tough, just raising the kids and all that, along with Helen. Stampede Wrestling recap, very brief. The deal with Vince to get Neidhart, Bret, and Davey Boy, and I believe Dynamite was also a part of that deal. Bret's stardom, worldwide, continuing to rise. That's why he was eventually made champion in 92. Vince McMahon, quote from Cornette, Vince McMahon is one of the most unique individuals on the planet. If you could cross a genius with P.T. Barnum and Donald Trump, you would get the love child that would be Vince McMahon. And actually, yeah, that's pretty goddamn accurate. Bret beating Flair for the title in October of 92 because Flair had some kind of injury or whatever, because he was off TV for, he was on some pay-per-views and stuff like that, but he was starting to wind down a little bit. Bruce then says, well, you didn't actually beat anybody. It was a scripted contest. Bruce Pritchard really is one of the biggest Vince McMahon ass-kissers that there is. He's a fucking goddamn idiot. Yes, we know wrestling is scripted, but when a guy is chosen to be the champion, it is a way to get, ratings, money, merch, whatever, elevate the company. And that's what Bret helped do. Because Hogan and various others and everything involved in all the steroid stuff eventually, were phased out of the goddamn company. And Bret was a guy that they really could rely on. And then we get WCW talk, how many talents left. Hogan, Hall, Nash, Piper. The curtain call gets mentioned. I still hate the curtain call to this day. Taking place in the hallowed halls of Madison Square Garden. Cornette talks about how it broke kayfabe. To be fair, though, and I agree with him, but to be fair, Vince McMahon broke kayfabe in 1989. I mean, the kayfabe had actually been broken all the way back to the Jack Pfeffer days and various news articles. But back in 1989, where Vince McMahon was basically just trying to, avoid these taxes from the state athletic commissions, that is, that's why he did that stuff and everything. We're sports entertainment, pal. We're not wrestling. We're not wrestling. And the Brett's feud with Shawn. Brett and Bischoff talking in '96. That's why Vince McMahon made a deal, $1.5 million a year for 20 years. And I think it would be phased down to more of a downside, a minimum amount of money, as Brett would fade out of the wrestling ring, basically. Because let's be honest, since that deal was signed in '96, by 2002, 3, even if Brett didn't have those health issues, he wouldn't have continued to wrestle. He would have still been great in the ring, but he would have wanted to retire and then would have had a consultant role and stuff like that. It would have ran out in 2016, basically. Scott Hall talks about how everybody wanted to be the top guy, and that's true. Everybody does want to be the goddamn top guy. Scott Hall also comes across as a bit of an idiot here, feeling the Montreal Screwjob was a work. Just for him, he thinks it was a work. And I don't know. I can understand fans thinking it, but I don't know how in the world he could think that. I think he was dropped on his head quite a bit, or maybe all the habits that he had over the years rot his goddamn brain. Cornette said Shawn was a prick. Yeah, Shawn was a prick. Shawn has admitted it, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that Shawn was a prick and kind of still is a prick, to be honest. He's just saved and everything. The Sunny Days promo gets mentioned. The trash heap that she fucking was. The embarrassment to wrestling that Sunny was. Not as much of an embarrassment as Sable, but that's saying something. Actually, now that I think about it, Sunny's outside antics might have almost been worse than what Sable fucking did. The hair incident, it looked like a small possum, according to Cornette, because during a fight that Brett and Shawn had, Shawn had some hair ripped out. I mean, it's it basically would look like my head right there. Might explain the bald spot that Shawn had for a while, and then just got drastically worse when he kept trying to comb it over. Mind if I comb over? And Brett says if anybody was sleeping with Sunny, it was probably Shawn. Which, yeah, I mean, I think they've even admitted that in interviews. Sunny has. Whether she was sober or not at the time is subject for debate. Brett then extends the olive branch, says, "You'll always be safe with me. I'm willing to put you over," stuff like that. "You'll never get hurt." And Shawn says, "Just want you to know I'm not willing to do the same." Because Shawn was pilled out of his goddamn mind. He was a goddamn idiot. Have I mentioned that? Cornette then talks about how Brett had creative control over the last 60 days of his contract. Then Earl Hebner talks about his friendship with Brett. Then we get to Wrestling with Shadows. Earl obviously was very emotional because he needed a job. I mean, I don't fault Earl here. Would I have blamed him if he maybe had said no and wanted to go to WCW? Sure, but then he would have been out of a job within 3 years. About 3.5 years. And who's to say they would have hired him? They would have been beneficial to hire him, or it would have been beneficial to hire him, but still. And, the Wrestling with Shadows stuff, the documentary about behind-the-scenes stuff, we get audio of Brett talking to Vince. Earl basically was told, right as he was going to the ring, he was told by Jerry Briscoe to screw Brett with, the sharpshooter spot. He didn't want to do it. He told Dave, his twin brother, how much they pay for the plastic surgery. The whole Hulk Hogan thing where Andre the Giant and Ted DiBiase screwed him over. And he told Dave, get the car ready. Get myself in the car. This is going to be bad. Brawls start the match. Scott watches footage of it. Ring the fucking bell. And right there, Vince McMahon basically became one of the biggest villains in wrestling. I mean, besides the stuff he did with paying off, the police chief so Jimmy Snuka didn't go to jail, and he paid him off. Fucking watch that goddamn Dark Side of the Ring. He paid that police chief off. And, he spat on Vince. Brett did WCW enough so it would be shot. And people were like, oh, but why would they shoot it? They were probably like, hey, let's just get this. The camera people were probably just looking for anything to goddamn shoot. They zoom in on Vince. All this stuff, it just... Yeah, I could definitely see why some people might think, well, why would they shoot that stuff? Well, they got to shoot something for TV, and maybe Vince McMahon is like, hey, he's going to be a prick. We can use this, against him and to support us, even though Vince McMahon should have realized he's going to be the fucking heel out of this. Cornette then talks about, being there, the incident and all that. Russo says he knew what happened. Then we get to the Cornette-Russo feud. Calls back and forth between Shawn and Brett. Cornette hates Russo. I think that was made very clear in this and also others. Vince Russo has never had any respect for professional wrestling. He's right. Vince Russo's a fucking piece of shit. Vince Russo is one of the biggest pieces of shit that you could ever fucking meet. And I've never met the guy. I have no desire to ever meet the guy. If I was paid to meet the guy, still fucking wouldn't. As a wrestling fan, I am ashamed that Vince Russo was allowed to be in wrestling. Cornette then says, well, talk about the original double cross. He said to Vince, the talented Vince McMahon, goddamn double cross him. Original Screwjob double cross in 1931 in Montreal. Ed Strangler Lewis and Henri de Glun. It was like a bite incident where it looked like Strangler Lewis bit him, but he actually didn't. And then it was like his manager had done something like that and a way to cover it up. And then de Glun got the title on disqualification, and Strangler Lewis was, relieved of the title. And not exactly a great time to be Ed Strangler Lewis, as much money as he made. Russo then says he pitched the same scenario or just double crossing. No, he fucking didn't. He didn't fucking know what it was. Vince Russo's biggest liar in professional wrestling. Imagine how much ground that covers. Bruce was upset that he didn't know. Okay, cool. Bruce, you tried to justify the Triple H Booker T storyline as not being a racist storyline, so you're a piece of shit and a goddamn moron. So fuck you, you goddamn stupid fucking moron. Paul Bosch should be spinning in his grave knowing that you have been pissing and shitting on the legacy of wrestling. So, have I mentioned that I hate Bruce Pritchard? So, who was in on it? Who the fuck knows? Taker then says, you gotta go talk to Brett. Brett punches him out. Sean, thanks for the match. And Sean's balling like crazy. And to be fair, Sean knew he was in on it and probably didn't want to do it. Or maybe he was coming down from a goddamn high. That's entirely possible. Russo said to Vince that Vince was trying to protect the business. Okay, whatever. Vince talks to the roster, says, I'll release you if you want me to, but you gotta come talk to me in my office. Brett was the one who went to the media outlets and basically talked about his character and everything, and he didn't want to be presented that way, and he didn't want to be screwed, and it was what it was. Cornette was surprised that Brett exposed the business. To be fair, Brett had a right to be upset, but Cornette's kind of right there. Brett really shouldn't have done. That's one thing Brett shouldn't have done. But then Brett promo, heel Vince is born. And WWE started to prosper after that. And WCW fumbled Brett badly. I will never forgive WCW for doing that. Oh, Bischoff mentioned it, but especially Scott Hall. He made zero impact. Scott, you were fucking drunk as hell at the time. I don't even think you knew what an impact was unless you made it when you hit the goddamn floor and somebody had to drag your ass up and, give you something to boost you up for a goddamn match. And yeah, I know he's clean now, and I'm glad he is. He was a fucking goddamn guy that pissed away his goddamn career because he just had to keep doing that shit. So, Scott Hall may be on my shit list if I mention that. Bischoff, he was just there to talk briefly about the WCW stuff. Was it a work? Cornette talks about how, it wasn't a work, and that, death threats that even he got there in his career, like, from Rock and Roll Express fans. Brett talks about how he wants to be remembered, and Brett should be remembered as one of the greatest of all time. Hate is a hell of a motivator, as Cornette closes the show. One of my favorite episodes of Dark Side of the Ring. Really, really good shit. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.